right, guys. Nick Drossos. I'm here with the man, the pitmaster, the Hawaiian Kempo, self-defense, MMA fighter, UFC trainer. Is that the best way to describe you, John?
I just like martial artist. I don't know. I've done a lot. Mainly that's because I'm just old as shit. So, I mean, when you get to be my age, you got to do a lot. What else are you going to do? You know, so I consider myself a martial artist, and then you can say instructor, but I also train and I do other things. I like to, dance sometimes. I like to pontificate and stuff. So, hey, whatever.
I love the fact that I've got to, we did something on Facebook and we spoke for hours, and I love the fact that you have the self-defense and street experience as well as the experience of training UFC pro fighters, the in and out of the ring experience. And I think that's always a good combination when you're teaching. How does that help you in terms of your self-defense, like in the teaching?
Too much. It helps me so much. It should be illegal. It's like I can't even explain, because a lot of the times I'm doing these techniques, I'm thinking how would it work on the street, and then then I teach it to my guy. Then I see him working. It works. Of course, it's going to work in the street if it works in the cage. You know what I mean? And it's like, holy shit, that's great. And then just the conditioning, seeing how that works. Like watching this fight, Glover's fight this past week, it was unbelievable to me because it showed me life. It was like a microcosm of life, the way he was able to come back from adversity, and then he made adjustments like you have to do in a street fight. Then he took some punches and some kicks, knees, elbows, etc. And he came back like you're going to have to if you're going to be successful in a street fight trying to save your family. Then he overcame some of those obstacles, and then he started, landing more and landing more and landing more, saw what hurt the guy and what didn't. And then he was able to, his conditioning was better than his opponent, which your conditioning has to be better than your attacker. Big difference. Cage, it's an opponent. Street, it's an attacker. Cage, you respect your opponent. You love your opponent. You don't try to disrespect them. You try to beat them to win a belt. Street, it's an attacker. You fucking despise them, and whatever happens to them while you're stopping the threat, you don't care. There's no civility there because they've already tried to hurt you. So there's some differences, but more similarities. Then Glover's conditioning overcame everything, and he ended up stopping his opponent. And then as soon as he stopped him, right? As soon as he stopped him, another very important lesson came up. He reached down. He didn't go running around the ring going, I killed him, yeah. He reached down caringly. You can watch it on video. He hugged him. He helped him up to his feet, because you want to be on your feet. Show him that you're on your feet. And then he hugged him, and he put his head on his shoulder and said, you'll be fine, or, I'm sorry or something. But he showed that he cared, right? So that told me the heart of a warrior, of a fucking brutal warrior, right? But if you went back 2 minutes, don't mistake that kindness for weakness, because there's no weakness in Glover, but there's plenty of kindness. And that goes for the majority of martial artists. We have a lot of kindness, okay? Not much weakness, and fucking don't mistake our kindness for weakness.
I've said that in a lot of my quotes and posts. Do not underestimate my kindness for weakness. Do not underestimate the fact that I will diffuse a situation, that I will avoid it, that I might talk my way out of it. But don't see that as weakness, because when the switch goes on and that fight or flight and you decide to fight, we become savage animals. But that doesn't mean at that very moment, we know, especially in the street, it's survival. That means when you decide to cross that line, everything and anything goes for you to get home to your family safely, right? So, but again, that's the decision that you have to make when you decide to, like I say, cross the line and decide to fight. And obviously, when you're looking at it from a sport perspective, that when you're in the cage and you're fighting, like from the sparring that I've done, but there's also a respect, and there's also there's a respect for the fighter, no matter how well or how bad you fight, or vice versa, because you're kind of like, at that very moment, it's just you and him, and you both need each other to make that fight happen.
Yeah, and you both need that each other to make a good fight, and you're both the same. You both want the same thing. In the street, you both don't want the same thing. He wants to try to fucking take what's yours, and you want to get home safely to your family. You're not trying to take what's his. You just want to get home safely to your family. The only common, the biggest common denominator is the best way to win either one and go home safely to your family or win a UFC belt is separate the attacker from their consciousness. So that's the number one way to win a sport fight, and that's the best way to go home safely to your family. Disabling them, whatever, disrupting their mobility, giving them pain, all those things come into play, some more than others. But the only definitive way is to separate yourself from the situation, right? But you can't do that most of the time. So you're left with separating them from their consciousness.
Talk a little bit about that. What does that mean?
Separating someone from their consciousness, that's the only way they're not a threat. I mean, we saw a video not that long ago. A guy was on the ground. You think a guy on the ground, you don't want to mess with him anymore because you might go to jail. So if you protect your life and you knock a guy on the ground, you think you're safe. He can pull out a gun and shoot you from the ground, and now you're dead. Remember that guy not that long ago outside the liquor store? Okay, so just because they're on the ground, you're not safe. You could break their leg. They could still kill you with a broken leg. But when they're separated from their consciousness, whether that means they're unconscious, like in a coma, or knocked out or dead, they're separated from their consciousness. They are no longer a threat at all, and that's the only way. Right? That they're no longer a threat while you're there. So if you separate yourself from them, in other words, get in a car and fucking drive, however far away, now you're safe. Right now. But 99% of the time when you're attacked, you don't have that option. Some people say, I just run. You can't run. I mean, unless you're like,
I've always like when I do a lot of knife defense training, and people are like, oh, I'm just going to run. I'm like, under 10 feet, if you try to run, you're getting stabbed. If you have to open a door, run around an obstacle. If
now in the back.
Yeah, like, I mean, when you start pressure testing stuff, and that's what a lot of self-defense guys don't do, it's the best way for you to figure out, as best as you can, what works and what doesn't work. Is pressure tested. Try it in a ring. Try it in a scenario. Try it full out. Do it with different people.
That's why we're the same, because you test your stuff. You go to parks and shit, and you test your stuff like with people, like what would you do here? And that's great. I love that. It doesn't look as like choreographed and cool as some people like Master Wong stuff, but it's real. It's fucking real. And my stuff, it's real. They're actually swinging at each other. There's nothing choreographed in the cage, and there's nothing choreographed when you're in the park and you tell somebody, or you just like stab me or something and then see what happens. And so that's a pressure test, and mine's a pressure test, and so like it's cool to be choreographed. It looks better, and you get more hits and shit like that. But there's nothing choreographed when somebody fucking is in your face in a Walmart parking lot at 9 o'clock at night, and he shoves you up against your car, and your wife's in the car, and you don't know he's coming at you. There's no choreography there.
I think what's hard, like I've made some videos sometimes where they don't look as pretty and as nice as what people are used to.
Yeah.
And they're like, oh, I would have done this, I would have done that. But I'm like, so make a video of somebody coming out full out, somebody you don't know randomly, and see what it looks like. And then when you start trying those dynamics with different people, different sizes, you realize it's hard. But I rather, just like you, give people a real reality, a sense of what can really happen and what it might really look like, versus something that's bullshit that's going to give you a false idea that might get you killed.
Yeah, yeah. I mean, yeah. And the only thing I would the only thing that I would add to that, like with your way, but then there's like my way. I would add to it. We don't do the weapons, and our stuff's a little more like, okay, fight. You know, so our stuff's a little more. It's a little more, you know, controlled. Okay, but but then you guys don't have, which we do, is like you could do all this stuff, and you can't really tell if it works or not unless you tap them on the chin, you know, because you guys can't do that. So you can maybe think like, well, if I did hit you there, then it would have knocked you out. But you can't really do it because you can't go around knocking each other out. Yeah. We can. So the combination of our two, right? Your stuff is more chaotic and less planned and less organized, right? And so your stuff is that, and that's the best part of your thing. And then our stuff, we can actually go full on and try to knock the other person unconscious, which separates them from their consciousness, or chokes them out. That's another way to separate someone from their consciousness. Or you stab them and they lose the blood. Now you lose your oxygen that way. You separate them from their consciousness. So there's a lot of ways to separate someone from their consciousness. And we can do a couple of them, but you can simulate even more of them. So the two together, you know, work really well. So test this. We test it this way, but we kind of know what's going to work and what's not.
I think that's, John, one of the reasons why I respect you. And I do believe from talking to you, I believe you're one of the top in the self-defense industries. I really think, I'm not just saying that. I think you're one of the top because of the realism you bring and the experience that you have from the different planes of training. I see it as well. Like, I mean, I train with a pro fighter. I know what it is to put on the gloves and to spar and to get hit. I know what it is to do scenarios. I know what it is to do drills. I know what it is to learn these slow motion bullshit moves. I've tested them out, and then you try them full out. And I think that's, you know, that's the best combination, is go out and explore all of them a little bit, see what works for you. I have another question for you now. What do you, when you teach self-defense, because there's a lot of people are saying MMA is the number one for self-defense. Some people say it's Krav Maga, self-defense, whatever you want to call it. What do you find? How do you mix everything together from your experience?
From the MMA world, the MMA is a sport. It's a sport. So if you train, if you have an MMA school, because a lot of people like to use those three letters because it's popular, but it's a sport. So it's like you have a boxing gym. It's a sport, but it can be used for self-defense. So can MMA, but it's a sport. So our Hawaiian Kempo is not a sport. It's for the street, but almost everything you learn can be used in an MMA fight. That's why when I started teaching this, you know, it was such an easy transition from guys like Chuck and Glover and Court, you know, so it's easy, you know, they take out the eye gouging and, you know, some of the other stuff, and boom, it's made for MMA. MMA and self-defense is almost the same. I mean, everything in it is almost the same. There's like maybe 10 techniques that can't be transferred over back and forth, but for the most part, it's almost the same. The conditioning is exactly the same.
I agree.
Okay, the main difference, the main difference is the goal. And the goal in MMA is you want to win a world UFC title. That's it. That's your goal. It's one goal. You focus on that goal, and everything you do for your training, you focus on that goal. Okay, so the techniques are almost the same, but you have a different goal. in self-defense, your main goal, without a doubt, is to get home to your family. That's it. You don't give a shit about titles. You don't care about a belt. You want to get home to your family. The way you do that is very similar, yet very different at the same time, right? You want to separate him from his consciousness thing. Now you can go home. Now you just want a title, okay? But you don't care if he dies in the street. You just don't, because he fucking just tried to kill you. You don't care. And you have to not care. You have to have that animal instinct. You have to be able to stop him. Okay?
I agree with that. You know what I mean? I worked in the clubs, and I knew a guy who had spent 5 years in prison. I knew him before he went in the can. He was already like crazy fucking guy, right? He got caught with selling drugs and stuff, like. And I saw him 5 years later. He got out of prison. He was jacked, like double the size, double the strength. And when I saw him outside the club, I started talking to him. He's like, "Hey, Nikki, what's up?" We started talking. And he goes, "Man, in prison, I learned how to fight. I learned how to box. I learned how to make weapons, how to use weapons." And I'm thinking, and every time I would teach my class, I'd be like, "What would you do if this guy attacked you? Because this guy is ready and most probably will go all the way and fucking kill you if you have to. That means if he pulls out a knife or a gun and you disarm him, are you ready to use it against him? Because he will." And that's when I realized, like you got to be crazier, more psycho, and willing to go a lot further. You have to be willing to go all the way when you're faced in the street, because if he's willing to go all the way and you're not, chances are that gap is what's going to make you lose.
Yeah. I mean, the only way to defend a violent attacker is to be better at violence than they are. Right? I mean, there's no like flowing and show respect with Aikido, show respect to your, opponent and shit like that. There is absolutely none of that, when it comes to that. So yeah, you can. And most guys in prison that I've talked to, I worked there and, I hung out with the guys and they thought I was an inmate. So I would talk to them like they admitted that they would rather kill someone than get a third strike, even if it's just a robbery or a rape. If the person saw them, they would rather kill someone than go to prison for the rest of their life. So even if they didn't have to kill them, so I would say, so it's better to fight back. And they said every time it's better to fight back. Because if you don't fight back, we're not going to not hurt you more. We're still going to kill you because we don't want to go to prison and you're the witness. So we want to take the witness out of the equation. We're going to kill you anyway. You might as well fight back. They used to tell me that when I worked at the prison.
John, so, I love this is one of the most important things I think people are going to get out of this video right now. Because I've talked about this before. When I've done seminars, especially for women and men, they're like, yeah, but if I go harder or stronger, I'm going to escalate it. And then he might come back and go harder. I'm like, get that out of your head. If you're being attacked, you might as well fight. That's if you're on the ground and you're being punched and hit and kicked, the idea that he's going to stop because you've stopped, and if you're going to go harder, you got to get that out of your head. The instant you're in a fight and you're being, let's say the guy, and this is like example, I'm talking about knife defense because I do a lot of knife training, and people are like, oh, there's nothing you could do. I always say, okay, so next time somebody attacks you with a knife, roll on the ground and say there's nothing I could do. Or
lay back and say, stab me, please.
Or you can give him the fight of your life and attempt to trap, attempt to fight back, attempt to hit him with an improvised weapon. At the end, it's your life. You do what you want to do. I know that if somebody grabbed me and he's attacking me with a knife, you better bet this motherfucker has a fight on his hands, and I'm going to do whatever it takes to stop the threat. And if I get that weapon in my hands and he's coming to me, I will stab him. I have no remorse, no sadness. I would not feel bad. Mentally, I've prepared to do that because in my head, the way I look at it is, you attacked me, you pulled out a weapon and are trying to take my life from my that's my thing, from my son, from the people who love me. Guess what? You're going to have the fight of your life. And I think mindset is everything when it comes to self-defense and combat. And you're right. And I love what you said, that even inmates or people, they tell you might as well fight back.
And another reason to fight back for women, especially men too, but most men that don't fight back are beta males, so they're very much like women. But it's a proven fact that when women are recovering from a rape or a brutal attack, they recover a lot better mentally if they put up a fight. If they didn't, they always had that in their head where they should have fought back. So you should fight back always.
No.
And if you don't, I'm not saying you deserve what happened, but you're facilitating it. You're facilitating it.
I did a lot of women's self-defense seminars, and I did a seminar and I had about 15 women in the class, and I had a few women sit out and they didn't tell me why. They go, we just want to watch. They didn't want to do it. One of them after admitted to me that she was beaten. The guy broke into her house. He beat the crap out of her. She fought all the way through that. When the cops came and whatever, they were both in the hospital. He was in the other room too. And when I spoke to her, she at the end of the seminar, she goes, you know what? I took a beating. She showed me the picture, but you know what? I fought. I did everything I could. I couldn't beat him. But there was a sense of pride that I did everything I could, but I wasn't strong enough. But there was a sense of her being proud that she gave it everything she had. I've worked with women who were beaten, were raped, who didn't fight back. And years later, they're still living the fact that I didn't do anything. I should have done something. I should have given. They're still reliving the fact of that they never fought back. They never attempted. They could have. They should have. Like they would have been better if they had to, or if they did. And the recovery, like you said, is different for both.
Yeah.
As well, the one who fights back, at least there's a sense of pride, a sense of I did whatever I could. And the woman who didn't relives that victim mindset for years until they seek therapy or help. And even then, there's a shift in the mindset of that person. And I've seen them when I train them, women self-defense, I've seen the difference from the both. And I love what you said. And the same thing applies for a man. If you're being attacked in the street and you're fighting to protect your family, your kids, your wife, like you always talk about this, if your wife sees you fighting back and at least fighting with everything you have,
yeah.
what is she gonna do?
Yeah, she's gonna fuck the neighbor. but and you're right. And one thing we have to do as martial arts instructors, as self-defense instructors, I don't have to worry about my team. My team, if you're willing to fight in a cage, you're already an alpha. You know what I mean? But one thing we have to do is an important thing is you can't teach a beta. You can't teach. It's like teaching someone with absolutely, like, say they have no limbs to swim. They'll just never swim, right? They'll sink. What do you call them? They'll bob. They call it bob. Anyway, it's terrible, but they'll never swim. You get a beta, you can never train a beta to defend himself or his family or her family. So they have to become alphas first. So training their mind is very important in self-defense, just like in all martial arts. So that's one of the things that that's what, we're having to do as martial arts instructors is you have to have your students, you have to train them mentally and physically, because if you're a beta up here, then nothing's going to work. I mean, this is all that's going to happen, right? But if you're alpha, you got that part going first. Now you have to train them. But even if you have the mindset of a fighter, but not the skills, so you have, you're still lacking, because the best way to build confidence is to build competence. So they have to have the competence first, and that's the best mental preparation.
John, I love what you said. Did you come up with that? The best way to have confidence is to have competence?
Yeah.
I love that. That's so well said. And you know what I mean? I was training today, and I tell people who don't have the mindset, how do you start building your mindset? Start building your body at least. Start training, condition, be strong, be fast, be explosive. and then tap from here to here or here to here, but find a way, whichever one, to connect, because there's no doubt that when you're standing tall and strong and you have that physique already, that's a start.
Yeah. And the, the mentality, that's another difference in the mental aspect. Like, I have a lot of people saying, I got a fight coming up. How do I mentally prepare? Or how do I mentally prepare for the street? And the two are like completely the same, but completely opposite. Okay. So, the street it's now. It just happened. Yeah. Right? So the way you're going to be ready is you've been training. If you haven't been training, right? If you're in a fucking airplane and you jump out and you don't have your parachute, it's too late. You're not going to get it back. You're going to be falling. There's no parachute. You won't need the parachute again either. If you get jumped in the street and you haven't been training, it's too late. There's no mental anything. You might as well just fucking do whatever you can. You'll probably just get your ass whooped. But if you're physically ready, right, there's the mentality right there. Somebody jumps you, boom, it's in your muscle memory. Okay, you don't prepare for 6 to 12 weeks like you do for a cage fight. There's a lot of mental preparation that goes along with that, and there's a lot of up and downs. Training camp is crazy mentally. But in the street, you just always have to be physically ready, and there's your mental preparation right there, right? Because you don't have time. I mean, it's going to happen like this. You walk in your car, you pull someone off, you cut someone off a mile back. You don't know that, but he's been following you the whole time, all pissed off. You get out of your car, next thing you know, he shoves you up against your car. It's on. There's no. What should I do? What should I do? Mental preparation. I'm going to psych myself out. I'm going to meditate. I'm going to pray, whatever. It's on right now. So the mental preparation is your physical preparation. In a cage fight, it's much different. So, but at the end of the day, the better prepared physically you are for a cage fight, the better mentally prepared you are. So it's exactly the same, but very different. Just like a woman and a man.
And that's why, John, like I train every day. I do 45 minutes to an hour every day, because my mentality is today I might get attacked, right? And that's what motivates me. When I used to work in the clubs, I used to be insane. I used to train 2-3 hours a day, because I would be like, this weekend I might get stabbed. So I was killing it. Obviously, I don't train as intense as I used to now. Because I'm not in security, and obviously I'm not doing any type of fighting, but I still think for the people who are watching the videos who tell me, Nick, how do I prepare for self-defense? Start by working out every day. Start by training your body and tap into your mind as well through that.
Yeah. Yeah, it's great. And when I worked in a club, I was terrible there. There was a bunch of us, and we all trained at my gym, which was in my backyard, the pit. And we would practice stuff and say, okay, hey, let's try this week. And we would actually, the boss loved it when we got in fights. He didn't never hit a guy, we're going to get sued. He'd be like, hey, I want to have a reputation of being the toughest club around. Man, if anybody even talks back to you, I want you to hit him. I was like, that was the owner. So we would practice shit, and if somebody got stupid, we go, how was that left hook? So anyway, it's kind of fun. But yes. Mentally preparing for a street fight is being physically ready all the time. You got to be ready all the time. When you go anywhere, you have to be ready. You got to be confident. And you can be happy, and you got to be every day. You have to Master Clark has taught me with telling me, and Glover shows it. I mean, you just always be happy and always be on vacation. And just smile. Somebody fucking says something to you, smile. Flip them off if you want, but smile. Somebody cuts you off in traffic, who the fuck cares? You know what I mean? And then if you cut someone off by accident, say sorry. If they want to fucking tag you and follow you and shit, deal with it then. But being physically ready is the best way to be mentally ready. I mean, that without a doubt. You can't be mentally ready if you're weak like a little bitch. You know what I mean? You're not just going to get your ass whipped. So confidence without confidence will get your ass whipped because you're going to be fighting like this. You'll go up to someone, hey, let's go, bro. And you start fighting like that. You have to have the confidence first, and that will build on your confidence. Now the confidence is real instead of being shallow and empty, like a fucking, it's like a shell of confidence with nothing inside of it.
John, I love what you said. I want to thank you for coming on today, taking the time. I know you're busy. John, where could people find you?
You can find me at Pit_Master on Instagram and The Pitmaster on Facebook.
All right. I'm going to put the links on the bottom as well. If you guys are interested, go check out.
We're doing some stuff. Me, you. I'm pointing this way. You're this way. It looks like you're this way, but it's backwards. So you're over here.
Yeah.
All right, brother. Yeah, we got some stuff to do together, and yeah, I think our two I like that. Practice it in the cage, see what works. You know, with full-on power, what'll knock someone out and shit like that, and then bing, try your stuff in the park. I think combined, we could get some techniques which we could actually we could practice. We'd be like a test lab. We're like scientists of self-defense.
I would love that, to get together one day, get to train. And actually, I would love to get in the cage and train with some of your guys.
Oh, that'd be fun.
And actually throw in some weapons. I would want to test it out. How would it?
I've done that. I've thrown knives in with the guys when they're training, and they wear MMA gloves, so they take up the knives. They go, all right, let's go. Stab them as much as you can. Because it's just a change in training, but it also is good for their reflexes too. So they're like, okay, and they have a full-on knife fight with the rubber knives. It's funny as shit.
So we got to do that. So guys, if you want to see me and Pitmaster do a little seminar, maybe get Master Wong in there, guys, let us know. Leave it in the comment box. Make sure to check out John Hackelman, the Pitmaster. And remember, guys, train hard, your mindset, and
clean. Don't let anyone take your lunch money.